Welcome to Voice of Inkopolis, a podcast by Squid Kids for Squid Kids. On this episode we have Kingmaker Hammer joining us today to talk about her position as a competitive player with her team Kingmaker and also about her position in the recent events of SoCallie. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for inviting me.
You have probably heard some bits of what the idea was of the podcast, and due to this also being the first episode, I kind of want to quickly summarize it. The main goal of the podcast is to find content creators, streamers, competitive players, artists, all kind of people all over the Splatoon community. If it's competitive, casual, you name it. Get them all together on a singular podcast, and this way trying to bring the community as a whole closer together. Because I think we can all agree Splatoon is an amazing community, but it's so far spread apart that it's hard to find people of the same ideas or even like people you can enjoy the game with without being in the same community as you. For example, there are very few artists that I can find on my competitive Twitter account, but whenever I'm on my artist side, I find a completely different community. Like people with different opinions on the game, of what needs to be changed, different opinions on like new weapons, on metas, you name it. And am I saying we all have to fit through one door? No, we don't. But it's nice to know what the other side of the community thinks of. So you as first guest, I'm really excited that I could get you as well, because one of my main reasons I really enjoy having you here is because you are one of the few people that could fit in with most side of the community. You are a competitive player, you also host tournaments, but you're also an artist. And besides that, you also Twitch stream every now and then?
Yeah, it's kind of like I have no particular schedule.
Yeah, I mean, same. It's like whenever we come to it. But
it really is like a...
Yeah, it really depends on like how your life is going and the stuff around it, because in most cases life doesn't want to let you stream.
Yeah, like I'm just too tired, but I really want to, but I'm too tired and I really want to.
But I have a few questions lined up here. I also sent you a few so you could think about it before, as you asked for. No problem in that, of course. And the first thing I kind of want to talk about is something that happened like almost 2 weeks ago. SoCallie. How was it hosting a local, well, one of the biggest local Splatoon tournaments?
It is a lot more than I anticipated. And that was me going in knowing that it was going to be a lot more than I would anticipate. I have a ton of respect for TOs in the community who do what they do, even more so than ever. And you think you can have everything down to the T, every little minute detail planned out, and there is always something that is going to go wrong. And Splatoon is just a game that never ends on time. We have ended at 3 a.m. Both of the times we ran the event, and it has been like 12-hour days just because of Nintendo Switch problems. But it has been so rewarding seeing people come to a local that they haven't been to a local before, and they're excited to see that we have vendors and we have posters you can sign, and we're going around, we're talking to everybody. We're not gatekeeping the organizers. I'm just literally going around and asking how people are doing, how's their day going, and thankfully I finally have a team that can help me kind of hold stuff in the back line a little bit more so I can actually go out and talk to people. But my goal is I don't want people to feel afraid or nervous to want to talk to me or any of the organizers and want to do something similar. I highly encourage people, if you live in an area that has a venue that can cooperate with you and do Splatoon, like go for it. You know, this is for the community. I want to bring people together. I know several people who, and I can't believe this, several people flew down from San Francisco for SoCallie. I could not believe it. I was like, I can't believe you're spending all this money to come to this local. Like, you guys need a local up there. Like, that's insane. And there's several people who have become friends since this event. And it just makes me happy to know that events that have let me meet people, my lifelong friends, people on my team, that I can provide the same thing for how much the game has done for me. And it's honestly been the most rewarding experience I've ever had in the Splatoon community.
I can definitely see that happening. I mean, one of my major thoughts has always been like, how would it be to just get together with an esports arena, a local one, and host a tournament? For me in the Netherlands, there's not much of options, but recently I believe it was either Low Ink or something else. I was not sure. There was some kind of local event recently in the Netherlands, even in an esports arena. I've been there before. The only problem is I couldn't go there because of the timing, which was kind of sad. But it's just nice seeing every now and then just the local events going on, spreading across basically the entirety of the country, entirety of the world. It doesn't have to be that everybody needs to have one around the corner. We cannot arrange that, because we all know, even if we try, the Splatoon community ain't that big. But as you were saying, there were people flying over from San Francisco, right?
Yeah, there's 2 people that flew from San Francisco. 4 people, which were the winners of last SoCallie, Triggerfish Zone Supremacy. They all came from Arizona. So it's kind of funny that the SoCal local was won by Arizonians, which I thought created a really nice rivalry between Pepe's team and On Crack, right? And then there is one person that I found out at the very end of the night that came from Nevada. It's like, oh my gosh, all these people are coming in. That means there's nobody going out and making these locals, or there's no resources to make these locals in this area. And I got really lucky that a local host by Nerd Street, that they had a venue in Fullerton, which is only an hour and a half away from me. And I thought, man, I hope they do a Splatoon tournament. But a lot of times when you go, man, I really hope more things come up. At some point I went, I just want to do it myself. I want to run something myself. I don't want to be the person waiting for it to come up and certain things to happen. I want to make it happen,
There are some good points. But seeing people travel all across the world just to get to a small local, it's always amazing to see. For example, I've been to in a Nintendo event once, and I see people from all across the Netherlands just come to that one little location near the north of the country, just to just go there, have some fun, vibe with the people who also like Nintendo stuff. They hosted just a small tournament for the fun, but the main reason that event was there was because there was an esports arena there. They were like, hey, you are a gaming store, we kind of want you back in our area because we kind of lost all close ones, so work with us together. They worked together, made an event, and people all across the country were going there just to play some Mario Kart, some Smash Bros, and for some reason the final was Tetris 99. They really made up a weird masterpiece, to be honest. It was really fun and I met some amazing people, but if I went back and look at the tournament, I'm like, you could have done this so much better. But what they did is they started off with Mario Kart. The 2 winners of every single cup basically had to move on to the Smash round. Then you were put in sets of 4. The winner of that one went on to Tetris 99, and then you had to play against randoms. One person even won the Tetris 99. It was amazing.
That is so... That is a very interesting way of going about it, actually.
Hey, there are different ways you can go about it, but I would personally say start off with for example, start off with randomly assigning people onto Splatoon teams is not that hard to set that up. They had the consoles, they had a bunch. You can still start off with Mario Kart, but then go off into Splatoon where you split it up in teams, and then basically let them duke it out in pools, in groups. Let a couple teams go through to a Smash round. That would have been way more spread across more well-known Nintendo games that are actually trying to pull on. And I think a lot of people would also enjoy it a lot more, because everybody was kind of sad that the finals was Tetris 99, even though it was a big hype at that moment. But anyways, back to SoCallie. There were a lot of things. I've even watched a fair bit of the stream myself. You were saying that it was 12 hours of Nintendo community errors, basically. The stream only was 9 hours, and I believe there was even some kind of break in from 1 hour.
Yeah, so kind of when I went back to the video, I did not realize how long our breaks were. I thought they were like maybe 15 minutes, and I looked back and they were like on break screen for like the longest time. So I used 12 hours because while the stream started at and did a 9-hour mark, we were there 3 hours earlier at opening because the main tournament ran at 3 p.m. and we were there when doors opened at 11 a.m. to set up. We found out that we left a backpack full of very important wires back at home, and we just couldn't afford to drive. So, random guy, I'm sure you know that random guy, and then JoJo, they ran over to like Best Buy and got like HDMI, some split like converter thing, and then we got like a camera, just like something cheap to get us going. And then Pepe happened to bring like a couple audio mixers. So, like, even though we were better prepared, we ended up forgetting a lot of important equipment, which made it harder to set up for stream. So it felt like day one all over again. And so it was particularly a very long day for those who just showed up and wanted to help, which, like, you know, Jub, Tux, Lagoon, Pepe, just so many amazing people that came and just want to help for the sake of help, just to see this thing grow. They were just there for so long. And so I had no idea that the breaks were that long, because when you're doing a lot of things and trying to fix problems, like a lot of the Ethernet adapters were not working. And on top of it, the way localhost runs is they have to call, and this is very weird, they have to call IT to turn on basically the internet for certain PC stations, right? I guess that's how they save money. Well, at some point, when the venue had obviously gone past closing hours, and that was all on us. We definitely heard it from the manager. IT decided they were going to turn off the internet to random PCs that we were still using. And that resulted in a lot of issues in itself, because people who were wanting to sit next to each other to play now had to go to random spots in order to play their sets, because it had gone for so long. But we had no idea IT was going to do that, and the manager was confused herself. So problems arise because of the venue, problems arise because of our, you know, newbie management. We aren't exactly experts, so we're doing our best to get things going, which is where I have so much respect for everyone who TIAs in the community. And then on top of that, Nintendo has its own problems, because sometimes Nintendo likes to live 30 years in the past, and why they don't incorporate Discord on the Nintendo Switch, we'll never know. People had to basically scream or do dual headphones just to communicate, but the one thing that came out of it is everyone told me they had a very good time. So that in the end, that's like all that matters, right? Like, we could have a really cool stream, we could have really cool vendors, but if you're going to play and you're spending money to play, like, the main priority is that you have a good time playing. Even people who are new to competitive, people tell me they just started getting into Anarchy. People who have no idea how the modes work. Things that are so simple and so obvious to us are very new to them, and they still had a good time. And honestly, that was like the best part. But yeah, there was some issues that came up from every little spot, you know. So we're doing our best to try to prepare for things for this month, but my gosh, problems just exist no matter how well you plan.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of problems coming through on the stream itself. Like I said, I've watched myself. The story of the cables, even that was said on stream, but I heard there was some guy who was like a saving grace because they could quickly get a set of wires to actually make sure the streaming setup was working, if I'm not mistaken. But mainly talking about the stream. Yeah. I was really confused when I started seeing the start of the stream, because I'm like, okay, we're gonna get our announcers for the tournament, and then we see like JoJo, he, him, Bob was levitating, and then we had the Uber driver.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, we're a local, and so like we're not big like low tide or rip tide. So honestly, the one thing I also wanted to come out of this is locals are kind of fun and unhinged, you know? So I thought, well, let's have fun with it. And so we were originally going to put Bob on an iPad, but like I couldn't get the iPad screen to show up on the camera. So we just like cut his Discord like call, and we just like cropped it and put it on. And then every time the cut would come back from a match, Jeb and I would change the shape of Bob because in the end it's fun. We're not professionals. We're not doing low tide. We're not doing rip tide. This isn't even low ink. Like we're just a little shenanigan area. We're just a little place of just shenanigans in SoCal, and I hope everyone got a kick out of that because me and Jeb were just laughing so hard at just like so many little things we were doing for the stream.
Yeah, I can definitely say the stream was a blast to watch. It was really fun. It was some amazing content. And definitely the meme sharing was amazing. I think I even went to like my local friends who don't even know Splatoon. I'm like, hey guys, I just started watching a tournament stream and look at what I'm seeing when the announcers pop off and there's just the Uber Eats, and that was the thing that mostly put them off. Like, what the fuck? But I was like, hey, we are Splatoon. We are a small community, but we still can get a lot of joy out of it. Also, while we're at it, big shout out to, I believe you said it was Gemini who did the editing, and of course SoCallie for making that stream. It's amazing to watch that. The video was already taken off Twitch already, but that's Twitch just being annoying with saving videos. But I did notice the video is on their YouTube, so make sure to check that out if you have missed the SoCallie tournament. On the other hand, there were a surprisingly high amount of players as far as I could see on that day. How many people besides just the players showed up just to come and watch?
So we had about 56 attendees on top of our coast to coast players, which included Chara's team, like Kotetsu and a bunch of other like really high end players, and then obviously On Crack played in the main bracket. Chase came to watch, even though he played in coast to coast. We had a couple families just like come with their kids. I had like a message where someone's like, do I have to pay? We're just gonna spectate. I'm bringing my niece. She's really into Splatoon. She likes playing this weapon. I'm like, yeah, we have tons of spots for you to sit down. Obviously the vendors came, they didn't play, they just, did vending. And then we had one of the local host employees come on their day off to just come hang out and watch. And then that doesn't include our team. Nobody on the team besides one person played. So it was like JoJo, me, random guy. Obviously, Bob's in Ohio. He's not playing in a SoCal local. And then the commentators, and then a couple of the volunteers that just came to just volunteer. So all in all, we had around 100-ish people in the building just for Splatoon.
That sounds really amazing, hearing so many people of the community together. That must feel way more amazing than I could even imagine. Sadly, I live in Europe, and the event is in America, so I couldn't even come even if I wanted. Trips to America ain't cheap!
Oh, yeah. Same for Europe.
But just to wrap things up for the questions about SoCallie, my final question for it would be, what is the plans for the future?
Honestly, the best thing I really want to come out of SoCallie is I just want like a monthly hangout spot. A spot where people from different parts of the community, competitive players, casual players, your good old Salmon Run players, and local Splatoon artists that can share their wares and just meet new people. I want a place where people can physically hang out and do Splatoon. Because there's like Low Tide and Rip Tide and Big House, and those are annual events, and there's a lot at stake for those type of tournaments. What I really like about what I really want SoCallie to be is just kind of like a more casual hangout spot where we just kind of have fun. We're not really professional. You come hang out and talk to us. Like, I'm not going to go randomly to the guy running the stream for Low Tide and be like, hey, let's hang out. Like, people are coming up and some people wanted photos with the team, and I just wanted to ensure that people had a good time, that they could meet new people, a place to physically hang out, because you'd be surprised that a lot of people, I'm sure you think that not a lot of people play Splatoon, and then you go to these events and it's like, oh my god, there's so many more people that play Splatoon than you realize. And you meet good friends, and this community is, like you said, it's amazing. And while we have our ups and downs, this community is like overall like so awesome compared to other Nintendo communities for sure. And I think the one thing people want more than anything is be able to meet other people who play the game, and what better place than just like a local hangout, some place to go after school, some place to do just once a month, right? Because if I did it any one myself. But I guess that's what I want out of it. I just want like a really fun hangout for everyone from all different parts of the community to come together, just physically see each other once a month or make lifelong friends.
That is something I would definitely love to see happening. Just seeing the first major stream, the major tournament, was amazing. This was the second one. In my opinion, seeing these things coming to life is amazing, especially if you see what they eventually can grow into. Because normally you have like a lot of events that are already big before you even know they existed. But every now and then, keep an eye on your smaller tournaments. You never know what they grow into. Because we all know Ludi didn't start as big as it was. Same with Low Inc. And now everybody in the competitive community knows of them. I think it's also like a good moment to go on to our next subject. Instead of like staying with SoCallie, which was already a really big event and we would love to see more. You already are a competitive player yourself. I have even seen you on one of the tournaments I hosted before myself. Not sure if you remember, but I definitely noticed we still had some conversations about the prize money for that. Do you remember Calamathon?
Oh my gosh, yep. Absolutely. I still remember. Calamathon is like such a good memory after all these years. I actually had it on my Sendo.inc results page for like the longest time.
I really want to bring it back, but every time I try to bring it back, it's still Clamblitz. It's hard to find the players, and with major things like Low Inc, you have paddling pool, you have Looty going on. It's really hard to find a timing where people are actually interested in going to a Clamblitz event instead of any other major event. The schedule is getting like really filled with the major tournaments that if a small tournament is trying to grow, it's getting tight.
Yeah, especially with like the way gimmicky tournaments are. Like they're super fun, especially since like my whole team was like a brush team. We were like, oh, clams are gonna have so much fun. Everyone else is like, clams. The whole community is so weird with clams, even though I think it's like one of the better team coordinated modes out there. Like you're saying with a lot of these other big tournaments, like kind of filling a spot every weekend, it is hard to kind of bring in a gimmick tournament and then hope for like a decent turnaround. But I think one of the biggest factors you guys were doing was you had, a prize pool, which is like, I mean, in the end, we all got to pay bills, right? One thing that's motivating for everyone is money to win a tournament. So I think you guys are already like doing really good with like a prize pool, but I could totally see your frustration. Like gimmick tournaments just don't get the same type of love as like, your normal standard bracket tournaments, especially as big as the ones that are filling up a spot every weekend are.
Yeah, I can definitely feel it. One thing I loved the most though during that time when Calamathon was coming around for its first and second run, which also was only one sadly, was during that time Sendu himself was also doing a lot of things. They already had like Into the Zone and the tower based tournament style. I forgot what that one was called. But basically he was already busy with those. And then he made a post on Twitter. Oh, hey, what if I did like Into the Zone, but then as Clamblitz? Would people be interested? And there were like multiple comments on it there. Like, we already have that like in like 2 or 3 weeks with Calamathon. And then it wasn't mean like, oh yeah, if we have that going, then I'm not gonna do it. And he even gave a shout out to Calamathon one, which was really nice to see that the community still tries to share that kind of thing around. It really hit me hard to see that happen, especially from one of the most famous people from the community, because we all know Sandu. It started as him being a competitive player, but now we all know him for his side he made, which almost every competitive player uses.
Oh yeah, he is a pinnacle to our community, that is for sure.
If we didn't have Sandu, we will be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the community would be just yelling at each other constantly.
Definitely. I mean, I still use it myself, even though it started mainly for like saving what build I use on what weapon. Eventually it also became looking more into what I want for other weapons. And afterwards you just keep on looking more and more in what it has to offer. Like, I really love the map planner from that site, but of course it's everybody's opinion on what they use on the site and what they don't and what they use for the others. What I am kind of curious about is something we don't see often. You even mentioned it before. Kingmaker, your team, is a brush-only team. How did this happen?
So this is a funny story. So for like a couple of years, I had this team, just Kingmaker was just me, and I didn't really know anybody else. And so I just was kind of rocking this team, this playerless team for like the longest time. And I mained Octobrush, and that's like all I played. And so I just was like always excited to see another brush player. And so Jojo asked, hey, could I be on your team? I only have like 30 hours in the game. And I was just like, oh, yes, I just have someone else on the team. Let's go. And, even though I wanted to go places, I also understood that I couldn't exactly be picky with people on my team, especially since I knew nobody in the community really, besides just like watching that SRB2 doing on YouTube. Like that was like my only frame of reference for like competitive Splatoon. And he found a tournament called Switch Fest, which was here in SoCal late 2019. And so he invited me to the Discord server, and I was like, okay. And he ended up bringing a friend along, and then I was like, well, we need a fourth. And so I was looking through the Find a Team channel, and somebody on the channel was like, all I mean is Inkbrush. I'm looking for a team. And I said, we're taking him. I don't care if our comp is bad. I just like want another brush player. And we became really good friends with him. His name is Saber, and he's still on the team. Like he's still stuck around the team, and like we just like played together so much. We just somehow made Octobrush and Inkbrush work. We figured out what we needed to make this team function with extra paint and beacons and a bunch of other things. And so half of our team is like meta and the other half is brush. We did have another player on the team, but didn't exactly have a good story that ended with us. So we were triple brush, now we're double brush, but we play double brush. And in fact, we took a game off of, I don't know if you had stuck around to see Sunset Search, which was Arizona's local. We took a game off of a team that had In Control and a couple other players like +2, +3 players, right? We took a legitimate game off of them with 2 brushes. And so like my favorite thing is, while I totally understand, and I'm not trying to like make excuses that like, oh, brushes could do anything if you put your mind to it, but it is always fun to kind of see where 2 really weird same class weapons can go. And I think that's like what's really exciting about our team is we're so unconventional that it kind of works.
That is an amazing story to hear that. Our team kind of started similar. We had somebody who only made bamboo, and we were like, we can look into like trying to learn new weapons. We had 1 E-Leader main, we had 1 bamboo main, we wanted to keep those in. And besides me being a flex and switch to a lot of weapons, we just decided, you know what, we're gonna run with this. We're gonna see what happens, and if we fail, we fail, and if we succeed, then we take it. And that was in the time of Splatoon 2. E-Leader didn't make much meta presence there, because in most cases it was the Firefin Splat Charger that would earlier take the meta spotlight. And Bamboo only started making its appearance in the meta after MPU came out, and we were playing before that. We were having a blast.
Wow. I think like the reception made it so that it started me at a weird time. I was just gonna say it's honestly impressive that somebody made Bamboo before MPU came out, and they're like, hey, I like this random charger. Well, let's stick to it. Like the fact that someone did that before MPU just is like awesome to hear.
I mean, I was kind of surprised by it myself. I mean, when I came into competitive Splatoon for myself, it was like, oh yeah, I'll start on a C-Jet. I've seen people using it competitive, it's probably somewhat good. It wasn't that good actually, it was just a shooter that had a Stingray, which made it pretty good. Because Jet is still good, that it can fight on different ranges at equal ground basically. And Stingray as a backline special was really good then. But I was going into heavy, it was during the time of the aggressive heavy of S2. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try a ballpoint. And a lot of people don't play ballpoint. I like the beacons with it, so I'm gonna run with it. I'm like, okay, this works, but I'm gonna look more into supportive shooters. The moment I started going into supportive shooters, being mainly Junior and the 96 Gal, the moment I stopped playing ballpoint, that became meta. And I was so dumbfounded. Ballpoint was such a good weapon in that game, and it took forever to become meta. And now if we look at it here in Splatoon 3, Ballpoint made its presence with no beacons this time, and the inkjet, which the Ballpoint Nouveau had in S2, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the vanilla one had Storm and Beacon. But the inkjet wasn't that good on ballpoint in S2, and if we look at it now, this ballpoint is one of the top tier weapons. It's surprising what can happen to a weapon if it just gets like a different kit or here and there a few buffs. Because when I started playing, nobody even touched the Splash-O-Matic, and now if we're looking at S3, it's just like, oh yeah, we have a machine, yeah, Splash will do the same job. We have a Stamper, Splash can do that job better.
What I always just like find hysterical is how some people are just like, they kind of put their foot down on certain weapons no matter what, and then like it'll get the patch. It's like, oh, this is really good. And sometimes I just wish people were just a little bit more open to these weapons. Not that you need to play garbage kits, because, you know, I'm not making excuses for some weapons that got unfortunate garbage kits, but I always love the idea of someone kind of opening up and playing something that's not as popular, you know, unconventional, right? And it's everyone's always so excited to see it, and I'm a big believer in if the person can make it work, it can work, but at the same time, you have to know what you're doing. You can't just pick up an off-meta weapon and be like, look at me, I play really good in solo with it, I can go places. And I always just love seeing like the love and hate for certain weapons just change constantly as I stick in my Octobrush corner. It's like, oh, ballpoint's meta, oh god. I missed when it wasn't meta, because we know how that works against brush, and doesn't help that Inkjet got like a good buff, and now I really miss Splatoon 2's vanilla Octobrush with Inkjet, and now I'm like dying to play Inkjet more than ever.
I get that feeling, because I was like, oh hey, we have I believe it was a fresh season, they came out with the Rapid Deco, which is basically the Rapid Kensa from S2, so I was like, okay, there's one of my mains basically back, I'm gonna try it, give it a go. I was not fond of Inkjet, I was not that in S2, and I was like, okay, I will try to deal with it, see how it works, and I was like, okay, it's going fine, it's going great. I still wish there's a bit more mobility and damage could be a bit better, but for now it's fine. Then in patch 3.1, they immediately buffed movement ability, and everybody's like, oh my god, Inkjet is gonna be the best against crab counter. What is the weapon that becomes meta? Ballpoint. And I'm like, but we all know how good Rapid was in S2. Why is Rapid not good in here? Oh yeah, it's just that it doesn't have the turf to get a special, and the points are just way too high up. And I'm like, I don't care, I love this weapon, I'm gonna keep playing it. And I just played the entire fresh season with only Rapid Deco. I have a fresh wheel of 2023 that is only blue for Rapid Deco.
Oh my gosh.
And it's amazing. I love it. I still love the weapon till this day, and I'm not gonna change that. And then recently in the 4.1 patch, they nerfed the damage of the Inkjet by so little, it's barely noticeable. And I see a lot of people over Twitter going like, oh no, Inkjet is broken now. Well, guess there goes ballpoint meta. And I'm like, I'm still gonna play Rapid Deco. This is still better than what it was in 3.0. I don't care. The movement ability was the biggest buff it ever gotten, and it was perfect for the weapon, because the jump buff is ginormous. Because normally was like the only way you can move is by going into squid form to quickly drop and then out to rise again. Now, besides that, to make you less predictable, you can also jump really high. And on some maps, you can even get to a higher altitude with Inkjet way faster, which got you more time on the high grounds for free picks, basically.
Oh,
Putting meta weapons aside, what is your general opinion on a certain brush that even recently came out, which I just like to call Pain, even though it's really fun?
It's a pain to fight, it's a pain to play, that's what I say. I have been waiting, I mean, everyone who's like been interested in brushes has been waiting since Splatoon 1 to see a new variant of brush, because we did not get that in Splatoon 2. And so what I was really excited was this increase in range, but what I really liked was, like, my favorite part was when you would attack and the swipes would come out, how easily you can go into rolling form with it. It was quicker than Inkbrush and Octobrush. The transition was like seamless. But what kind of killed it for me, which obviously it's gonna need that, just like Dynamo, if you have long range and big power, you have to nerf it by speed or mobility, right? The initial swing that comes out, I couldn't get over it. And so what I learned is when I would play paintbrush and I would, just have fun, and its kit is not bad actually. Like the curling bomb is great, but for the amount of ink it used, and thankfully it got a little patched up in the last patch, the ink it used, and then it ran out of ink constantly, and I didn't like not having a pokeable bomb. I know it needed the extra mobility, but it did kind of kill me. I would play it in solo for a little bit, or in like open, and then I'd go to Octobrush, and Octobrush would feel like Inkbrush. So for me, Paintbrush became the catalyst to make Octobrush feel better.
I mean, I will say I love that in the beginning in S2 they revealed the Inkbrush, the new roller type weapon, which was still confused to many players. Then they came out with the Octobrush later, which was like the slower one, and I'm like, I didn't play much in Splatoon 1, but I played almost the entire lifetime of Splatoon 2, and every time I was playing through it, the ink brush did not feel like the default brush. Like, you know how you have like the Splatter Shot, and then you have like the Splatter Shot Junior and the Splatter Shot Pro. A longer range and higher damage one, and a shorter range but higher turf one and faster mobility. You have that over many different weapons. You have that also with chargers, where you can, for example, take the Splat Charger, and then you have the E-Leader and the Squiffer. You had that with almost every weapon class out there. But when you're looking at what would be like feeling like the default brush, for me in S2 always feels like it would be Octobrush, because it just felt way better to use as a default weapon. The ink brush felt as a sped up lighter weight version of the Octobrush in my opinion, which was not how it intended. And now if you look when the paintbrush came out, I'm like, okay, we cannot deny it. The Octobrush is basically the default brush now.
Hey, you're definitely right on that. I always thought it was the basic brush, because when I played Splatoon 1, again, the only person I really watched was that SCB2 dude, and he only did a couple brush videos. In fact, the only brush reference I had at the time of early 2018 people that I knew, because I knew Silver was doing, I didn't know Silver was doing content. I wish I discovered their content earlier. But dude had only made videos still from Splatoon 1, so I would watch Splatoon 1 Octobrush videos to know how to play Splatoon 2 Octobrush. It did not help or correlate whatsoever, because everything was different. There was no overlapping damage. Obviously, the kit had entirely new weapons. I didn't have like a suction bomb to reference. Like Auto Bomb just didn't exist in Splatoon 1, neither did Inkjet. And so I always thought it was the default brush, and I thought Inkbrush was this really cool, speedy variant. And then, like you said, when Paintbrush came out, I was like, it feels like Octobrush is like, it's the middle weight, It's like the middle weapon between a heavy hitter and speedy, skirmishers. What it always felt like, but I actually didn't know Inkbrush was supposed to be the default.
Yeah, it's kind of like you have your all-rounder, which in this case is the Octobrush, you have your heavyweight, which is the paintbrush, and then you have your speeder, which is basically the inkbrush. It's really nice to see that like in different weapon classes as well, because it's always like a great reference point. It's just, if you know Splatoon 1, it feels weird to still call the Octobrush the default, because the ink brush was the first weapon that they revealed, basically to introduce the class. And then Octobrush was supposed to be the heavier weight, but now it's more the all-rounder, and ink brush is the lightweight. It's really weird to see that change over the years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I hope you have thought about these questions, because I still had 2 questions prepared for you that I even sent you. I want to start with the first one. If you had to add one kit of your choosing to the game, what would it be and why?
Would it be a kit for Octobrush, or like just any weapon?
It can be for any weapon, even for weapons that already have 2 kits.
Well, Octobrush still only has 1 kit, as we know in Splatoon 3, so my answer is going to be totally predictable and obvious, but I want Inkjet Octobrush back, but I'm very conflicted. Obviously, Burst Bomb would be the most perfect sub-weapon to put on Octobrush. The mobility would be absolutely insane, especially paired with Inkjet. You could just combo it like so quickly. But I also really miss Auto Bomb, because the maps are smaller, and Nintendo decided to make hallway maps. There's less flank routes. I can only imagine how disgusting Autobomb would be if it was on more kits on these type of maps where the layout is just so narrow and a hallway like that. It would be very hard to be able to run from these Autobombs, especially since Octobrush has received so many buffs by so many just really good ones that have come out since the game has been released. That Autobomb would be so easily spammable. It would be the most annoying sub, and for me, that brings me lots of great joy. So I would honestly want Autobomb Inkjet. I know that's on the vanilla Octobrush from Splatoon 2. They've brought some vanilla kits back, though. I think it would be awesome to see like a new variant. Maybe it'll be Octobrush Nouveau, or maybe it could be on a Kenza Octobrush, or maybe their new version of a variant. But I'd love to see Autobomb Inkjet be paired up again, because nothing was more disgusting than throwing an Autobomb, seeing where I was going, popping an Inkjet, and finding people hiding around the corner trying to hide from the Inkjet. But unfortunately, the Autobomb gave them away. There was always something so very satisfying about being able to call the bluffs of like enemy players with that kit.
Yeah, I know that feeling. It's amazing. I mean, you said it yourself. Most kits even come back from like Splatoon 1 or even Splatoon 2, like from both of them. It's amazing to see it come back, especially with some of the returning specials and some specials being remade. Personally, if I had to say something, I just want my Kenza Galugas back. I want Fizzy and Big Bubbler. Just give me that, I'm happy.
Oh no.
Till then, I will keep it on Kenza Rapids. Hey, I used to be an armor support main, and in most cases you think, oh no, you're one of those that keeps on spamming armor. I'm like, no, I'm keeping it for a mini bomb rush in the middle of a team fight. Besides that, I don't care that it gives armor. It's just the quickest ink refill.
Oh my gosh, wow, you know, honestly, I have mad respect. You were not an armor farmer, but you were like the armor player that literally would pop armor when you did not want armor to be popped as an enemy. You're one of those players. You were the type of player that I would go, no, they popped armor. No, we needed to get that pick. And because some people, when they just spam armor, they would just kind of spam armor whenever they get it. But that didn't always mean a team fight was happening or any sort of fight was going down. So it was a lot of like wasted special just for the sake of wasting special. Like you're honestly one of the only people that I know that actually like used armor efficiently. There is just so many even top like and armor. But it's cool to hear that you Kenza Gluga. I know many people who would want that kit back, but I really hope that Bubbles stay out of this game, because personally Bubbles were an absolute menace to fight. And I like being picky.
Oh, yeah, I was not talking about Bubble Blower. I was talking about Big Bubbler, the shield. Because that is basically the equivalent of armor now. Because it still could help, because it gives you a little bit of mobility in that bubble. Because I can see perfect scenarios where you use a Fizzy to just go into the enemy lines, you push in, use your bubbler, and then you have like a free space for yourself, and you have a full ink tank to fight with. Compared to what it now has, you have an ink wall and Booyah. You can use the Booyah to go in, but if you do that and then go in, you only have one wall to help you defend yourself there, and you're out of ink straight after. It's completely different. And I heard a lot of people saying, oh yeah, but then it's more defensive. I'm like, no, it's more aggressive. If you have your special, you are free roaming into enemy territory, basically, which you cannot say for the default. It's completely different.
It's also jumpable, so clam blitz or any other mode that you need your team to jump in, you run in with the bubbler and you pop it and people can jump to the beacon. It's actually very aggressive, and it also can be used defensively. I think people get that mixed up as it's like a good side of both. You would cut out when you had said that, so I thought you said like big bubbler, like the bubbles, so I was like, I just kept thinking Fizzy and bubble combo, and that just made me like cry a little bit on the inside. I remember those days.
I will say I love Bubble Blower, but it needs a few nerfs. I love Big Bubbles. I was a Forge main, but it really needed some nerfs because it felt broken here and there. It was not like fully broken, because if you did not run special power up, it didn't do shit. But it's just with how little special power up you needed to make them so big and basically give you free kills, it is scary. Every time I was like seeing a bubbler every time I saw a bubbler weapon, I was like, okay, I know I have a bubbler weapon myself, but that bubbler weapon scares me.
It did help if people would preemptively throw the bombs, torpedo, whatever they can do to combo to insta-pop, so you wouldn't even be able to process the bubble before it would pop. It was always like a giant splat bomb in your face, as you could kind of process it, but it was way too late to even like react to it. And oh my gosh, yeah, no, Guga's come back with like the kit you want. I can just see players like Krim and other players that's like really good at Glugas too, just running in and being so uber aggressive with it, and then they just pop it. Because the one thing that I hate fighting against bubbler specials is, as Octobrush is, unless I can somehow squeeze on the inside and then maybe throw a bomb and ricochet the splash to kill the opponent, I'm usually screwed. Because if I get stuck in any ink, I'm already screwed, right? But they pop that, and I'm already flicking towards the shield. They have a free kill on me. Like, the second they pop that, when it's aggressive, it bugs me. Because they weren't just using it defensively and I get to watch it from a distance like, oh, I can't wait for the bubbler to go down so I can go kill them. Nope, they pop it in my face and I'm dead. So it is honestly a very good aggressive special if you have the right comp. Or even just a player that's competent using it. That, yes, I want to see more Glugas come back, because a lot of people have been picking up Gluga. And it's just exciting to see how the meta is evolving, you know, after being in a stale meta for like 2 years in Splatoon 2. It's awesome to see where the state of the meta is going in Splatoon 3 right now.
I mean, I will say, I don't think I've seen a healthy meta as we have now, because even though we have like Splash and Ballpoint still being dominant over the meta, Splash even in 2 variants, and once again, there's a game where T-Tech is really popular, we still have Machine. We have E-Leader and still be good. Stamper is one of the strongest current weapons. The Tetra Dualies are still going hard. Viper is making a show recently as well with, well, basically both his weapons even I've seen. So it's amazing to see how more spread the current meta is than I've seen in the past. Because I was so afraid when this game launched and we still had missile meta, and when it wasn't missile meta, it went to quad machine. And I'm like, we had quad machine meta in every game. Can we have one game where we don't have it?
Nintendo really likes machine.
Yeah, I mean, the worst part is that they basically they were like, oh yeah, Kenza machine. It was a broken kit. The only thing that didn't make it broken was a special being pretty shit because it was splashdown. Let's just grab that, put it in S2, and give it a proper special being Booyah Bomb. And I was like, how the fuck are we going to avoid a machine meta? We're not. It was scary. But on to another topic. If you were to like change the game for the better, like we know how the meta is currently like, we have seen some changes that actually helped, but if you could change something for the meta, if it's like you would change a game mode, create a new one, maybe even a new map in the game or a special, what would your major change be to try and help the meta evolve into like a new era which could completely throw off our current meta, you think?
So my opinion is going to be very different from other people just because of the weapon I play and what I've experienced. But the meta, honestly, the cooler meta is probably my most favorite meta ever. And the reason I want this meta to kind of stay and nerf some of the more popular weapons that have had a spotlight for like many, 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 many years is I liked that the game became more fast-paced. And I know this is already a fast-paced game, but Cooler made it even more fast-paced. It made your split-second decisions even more black and white, you know, life or death. You have to be able to react so quickly. You have to be strategic with the Cooler. So what I'd want to see for the meta is weapons that are way more aggro come into light. And we already, again, like you said, so Charger's been coming back, which is like, honestly, I actually like that. I like that Charger is coming a little bit back. That was a thing that a lot of people talked about that they kind of missed from Splatoon 1, interestingly enough. And I think back to Splatoon 1, how quick the kill time and turnaround time was. So everybody died very quickly, but everybody killed really quickly. And that's what I'd want to come back, is what Cooler has kind of helped bring back from Splatoon 1 is just how unhinged a match can be. And it's less defensive. Like Splatoon 2 was all about missiles and coordination and like call out like where everyone's location is, but what I want to see for a meta coming up is give more weapons a chance to kind of come out and just go ham. So weapons like machine, I personally want to just see them nerfed a little bit. I want to see more weapons like, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this. I think Flash getting a little bit buff is very much needed. It can be very disgusting around corners, and it has a very quick kill time if you use it properly. It has it shoots very quickly. Like when it starts shooting, it shoots very quickly, right? I like that Ink Brush kind of became a little bit meta in the beginning of Splatoon 3, but it's just weapons that don't just hang back. Even the chargers have gotten more aggressive, and that's what I think the game needed, was less standing in a corner, standing in your back line, painting for special, more quick second decisions that mean something, that causes you to think more. It changes the pace of the entire game. So I want to see these quick weapons come more to light. Like Wiper and Stamper are freaking perfect. I mean, you have to be able to get certain flicks on people in order to secure a kill because of the charge time, right? So a lot of 180s, high skill ceiling type weapons. I mean, it's been fantastic, and I think the meta has already kind of gotten to a point where I've wanted it, where it feels quick, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm like, I drink like 5 cans of Red Bull, and the match is just like going really quickly. I would want to see these defensive weapons kind of die down a little bit. Weapons where their hitboxes don't hit you but kill you. So reduce the hitbox on machine. That's the first one. It should absolutely not kill you the way it does. Certain hitboxes on chargers need to be reduced, where a lot of it's a latency problem where they see you through the wall, but you are behind the wall. So that's like kind of a different conversation. But certain hitboxes on weapons need to be reduced.
I kind of want to come in between with that, because I don't know if you have seen that clip of how the latency even works with Splatoon that they discovered. Basically, how they tried to fix their latency problem was to say if on your screen you hit, you will basically hit the target. But because of latencies, they have tested of somebody swimming like from behind cover into the open of a charger line, and right before they actually fully come into open, they basically squid roll back. So on their screen, they never peeked past the corner. Then they looked from the other perspective, and they went full body past that corner, making it a free shot for chargers. That latency issue, it is a fix, but not a proper one. Because, yes, to be honest, it fixes that if you hit a target, you actually hit it, and people get less frustrated of that. But now everybody in this game is getting frustrated because they never peeked the corner, and they still died. Just because of that. Also, we have the problem with chargers hitting you from, well, through floors, basically. Like, there are a lot of points where they can shoot, like, under a floor, and they still hit you because your hitbox goes under it. That is fucked up.
Yeah, so honestly, like, I totally agree with everything you're saying. That is a Nintendo problem. So if you look at other big shooters, they fine line precision fix a lot of the hitboxes and the collision on maps. And Splatoon, Nintendo, the one thing that was beating everyone up that we all equally agree on is the lack of dedicated servers, or the non-existent of dedicated servers, right? If we had more support in the online, because the matchmaking has gone a little better, but that's just me. The matchmaking also can be very much worse for a lot of other people, especially in Anarchy. When people are trying to climb up, I say Anarchy is like the worst grind of them all, because the matchmaking is so varied that you coming into Anarchy are fighting against someone who just didn't play Anarchy during X-Rank season. They need to get it back just so they can get X-Rank back, which is what I've been doing. So it feels very unfair to a lot of players.
I get that feeling, because I'm like, oh yeah, new season, let's go into X-Rank and try out some weapons in there, because to be honest, some weapons are just the same weapon as you played before, it's just some different subs and special. So you're like, okay, I get a hang of the main weapon, so I will just straight up go in X-Rank. I have a somewhat decent build, I just want to try it out fully. And then it's like, you de-ranked because you were only S plus 9, and then you still go back to S, well, if you're on that, then you immediately be put back into S and you lose your X rank. And it's like, you legit have to be S plus 10 to stay in X rank over the season change. It feels stupid. I get why they did it, that you would rank down, but if you reach X rank, I don't think it should be like, oh yeah, we're gonna take it away at the end of the season, especially if you've been scoring good.
Yeah.
Because it means you still belong in there, but they only look at your Anarchy rank, and if the Anarchy rank goes too low, then you lose your X rank.
Yeah, I agree. I found that a little frustrating. I actually found it humorous that somebody who had a top 10 placement in X rank was D-ranked to S because he didn't play to S plus 10. It's like, the guy got top 10. Does he really need to prove himself through Anarchy? So then people trying to actually legitimately get to X rank who haven't had X rank are having to face players who just never played Anarchy during their X rank season. So I think depending on who you ask, that's a very frustrating part. For me, it's not really frustrating, so my opinion isn't really as heavy as those being genuinely affected by it. Nintendo has made some very weird decisions. I think we're all on the same board that League and Open being quote-unquote the same is like a really weird decision they made, especially since they did a promotion on League in one of their videos long ago.
They even said League will be coming along the way, so it's kind of weird that it's gone. And what we got was even worse, because they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna make it fun, we're gonna introduce challenges. I have made so many memes about challenges just not being there. There have already been like, I don't know, like 10 events I only could play 2 just because of times.
I haven't even been able to play any because of the times. Like, I've always worked during the challenges, and I think it would be more fun from like a casual standpoint. I think from competitive, we were just more frustrated that League became changed into whatever this is, and we miss League. We miss being able to Open just isn't the same feeling, because with League you needed, the 2 people or the 4 people. So Open, because you can run it with like a random amount, right? It just, I don't know, it doesn't feel as rewarding as League was. League was meant for the teams, and Open, you're getting a lot of people who are by themselves instead of being in pairs or being in quads. So it feels unfair for people who are just wanting to play Open and want a more casual gameplay where they still include the modes, right? That's what Open should have been. It should have just been like basically the equivalent to quick play in Overwatch. A casual way to play the modes, but there should be no stakes involved in such mode. It should have been separated like League was. And it's kind of a bummer that hopefully they change their mind in the future. I don't think so, but it was like a big bummer when they came out and changed it up.
Yeah, it's really sad. And the stuff with Open, I am guilty of contributing to it myself, because I'm like, I have to play Anarchy to rank up to X again in most cases. And I'm like, they give me Rainmaker, for example. I'm not in the mood for Rainmaker, but there's Tower Control on Open. I'm like, you know what, I'm going in there, it's gonna be fun. And I'm just trying to enjoy it, and I know it's made for teams, but I'm legit going in there on my own just because of the mode, and then I'm still getting pissed at myself that I joined in a game mode where it basically feels like my team is like 1 duo and 2 randos against a full team that have like full communication.
Yeah.
And then I'm mad that our team loses because they have better coordination, and I keep getting, wait, this is made for teams. They're probably like a 3 or 4 stack in a Discord call. Right. Of course they have better coordination.
Right? I mean, playing pubs in Splatoon is not always the fun experience. I mean, playing pubs in any game is frustrating. Different people of different levels coming together with zero way to communicate besides a Nintendo Switch app, VC, which we don't talk about that. But honestly, I kind of think Splatoon is better off without VC, because I know the type of things people would say in matches over this game, but I mean, like, I really think they should have separated the team aspect in Open. Open should have been just that. Open, a very casual way to play and test weapons in a mode environment that has no stakes to it, and then separate it for League for people in Discord calls with full-on teams of people they've been experienced playing with for years or months or whatever together, and give them a point system like that, because Open just feels like a little bit of everything, and it can be confusing if you're coming into the game and you're like, I want to play with my friends. Oh, you do Open. wait, but I did open so that I could do, and it just, I don't know, it's so weird how it works, you know?
It's a really strange system, and I kind of like the idea what they went with Anarchy, because now that X-Rank is actually separate, you still have like a divide between competitive players still playing mainly against the competitive players, because the casual players will only stay to Anarchy, and even if they reach X-Rank, they know it's the tryhard mode, so if they want a more casual way of playing their modes, they still go to Anarchy. It's just, League was its own thing in its own way, and it worked so nicely for what it was meant to do. It was great for the duos, great for the teams. I even seen many teams that were like, okay, we can do one or the other thing, or we can go do scrims, but we know most of the teams that we in most cases scrim against, so it basically feels like playing against like a set of bots at one point. You know how they play, you know their meta, you know what to expect, so you try to counterpick with your own team build against that. Or we're gonna pick a set of weapons and kits that work for these two maps for this mode, and we're gonna see what we have to play again, which is way more accurate to actual tournaments, which makes it so much better even for training for most teams. The only downside is you don't know if you're gonna get a top tier team or 4 people with a try bucket trying to have some fun.
Right?
The meme teams were amazing in that. There were so many.
Oh, those are always the best. I was excited to see a meme team in League or open in Splatoon 2. Whenever I see the meme team, it's like, let's go, we're gonna have fun this match. And then they beat me with the meme team. It's like, oh, I hate them now. How are they so good with quad clash? How did that work? It just happened to be on a mapping mode that just like worked for like a meme weapon and such, but it always made it feel a little bit more fun than going up against, you know, tryhard team 29. It's like, no, I just want to play with friends. I don't want to be sweaty.
Yeah, I will say there are some things that need to be changed, but there's, even if we bring League back now, it will be like there's like another mode with normal game mode rules basically, and how long will the queue time become after that? Because there are moments where you even have to wait 2 minutes for a 3-minute turf war, which is ridiculous. I don't want to have that for every mode. I have been to Splatoon 2 when it was already down. That timer caps at 2 minutes, but if somebody joins the lobby, the timer is set. So I have been waiting like an hour to just try and get one ranked match when Splatoon 3 was live, and I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna work, so I guess I don't get to play my Kansas Glugas anymore unless I go turf, which was set. Queue times are the biggest enemy of adding in multiple queuing options, because the more ways you can queue up, the longer the waiting lines will be, because everybody wants to play different. And that's the one problem with adding in more modes, which is really scary. I also noticed the time we have been on a long talk, so I quickly want to end off with one last subject, if you want to talk about it, of course. It has been on your Twitter handle, even for a pretty long while, as I see. You were going to open a Etsy shop with, as far as I've seen, keychains, stickers, posters, and most of it is Splatoon team.
Oh yes, after so many years and just kind of just drawing here and there for the community, a lot of personal drawings, I decided I kind of always wanted to open up like a shop, and I got the idea for like the weapon keychain, where it's the primary weapon followed by the sub and special of, you know, different colors and variety. And I kind of want to do it as like a way to be able to, for people to be able to show off their kits, like, because sometimes they have like an Octobrush keychain or they have like a Splash keychain on their backpack, but if they had like the whole kit, it feels like it's really representing what they play, more than just like a main weapon. I thought that was a really fun idea, and the shop proceeds are going to go to help fund my college, because things are pricey nowadays, and unfortunately PhDs do not come for free. So I was thinking, well, maybe it'd be fun to do a shop, and I basically raffled off all the keychains I made beforehand, like the prototypes. I didn't really want to sell them. People offered to buy them. I didn't really feel comfortable selling them because they were like, you know, prototypes. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of raffle it off, and I don't know, I just like the idea of people being able to buy things that, you know, they feel, you know, shows off their personality, and, you know, something that they can, you know, show off with, and always made me feel happy. And it'll help fund my college. So I'm like getting in the works for getting it open pretty soon. And I hope everyone just enjoys what it has to offer. And there's no pressure whatsoever to not buy or to buy. And if you like something, it means a lot to check it out.
There's some great points there. I mean, I've seen those keychains and I'm like, I want to get some, but saying like, oh yeah, you can use it to like show off your main, what you're mainly like using with the subs and specials, and more into like what you actually are instead of just having the main weapon. Because besides being like, oh yeah, there's a second kit, it is also like, is your Octobrush, is that the S3 one? Is the normal Nouveau or Kenza from S2, or is it normal or Nouveau from S1? Which is also like a big thing on its own. But I will say, if I would buy a keychain for every weapon I main, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go broke on your store. I have a list of like 15 to 20 weapons I play. So I do see myself as like a major flex.
Yeah, you're a flex player. If you are a flex player, please proceed with caution before entering my shop, because you main almost every weapon, and that is dangerous for your wallet.
I mean, if I would get something, I would probably for now say I will keep it at Rapid Deco, Anarchy Nova, and if it comes out, the Gluga kit. I also think this is a good time to cut it off, because otherwise I don't have time to sleep for my work tomorrow. Let's go, time zones. That's no problem. I stayed at this time for my own movement. I want some recording, and I hope you had some fun time too here.
Oh yeah, no, of course. It was honestly fun talking Splatoon, where it was just an actual conversation going. And honestly, I have to thank you for picking me as your first person for this podcast, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck in the future with the podcast. And I think interviewing people of all different avenues of the community is awesome, and I will be there to like 100% support it.
That is really nice to hear, and I am so happy that you also wanted to even join. Anyways, I really hope that you enjoyed the podcast. I hope that the viewers enjoyed it.
But I am gonna have to let you go. I gotta drive to a new location for work. I was able to kind of do a little bit of work on this call. But I will have to let you go. But I did want to thank you a lot for inviting me on. This was an excellent conversation, and I'm honestly just humbled and honored that I was the first person you chose. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck in this. And I will be keeping on the lookout for who you're going to interview in the future. And if you need any help with anything, or if you need me to contact somebody for you, my DMs are always open.
Thank you. That is very appreciative to hear. But I will let you go, because we both have work struggles coming up.
Right.
I once again like to thank you for joining us today. I really hope you had a fun time, and maybe, who knows, in the future we will meet in another way, because I don't think I will be leaving Splatoon anytime soon.
Same.
But for the people at home, if you are curious into Hammer, you can find her on Twitter under the tag @KingmakerHammer. So if you are curious, you can look her up over there. Of course, I would still say look up SoCallie on YouTube if you're still interested in that stream. And of course, give that Octobrush a try, because it's really fun.
Yes, do it. Join.
Join the Brush Gang. Join
the
Brush
Brush
Gang.
Brigade. You know you want to. You know you don't like to aim. Nobody does. All right. Evian, I will have to let you go. Get some good sleep. I look forward to when the video comes out in whatever format you have it in. Thank you. Well, best of luck, and
thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you all so much for joining in on the first episode of Voices of Inkopolis. If you have any recommendations of who I should interview next, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to see more of this, then please be sure to leave it a like and give us a follow. Anyways, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all on the next one.